Welcome to Midweek Racing. Welcome to China. Here for round 3. Unfamiliar voice. My name's Jonathan Fernandez. I'm stepping in for Nizmax. Obviously with me a familiar voice. Ati, how are you today?
Great. Can't wait for the guys to show their pace. Couple of new faces in China. After last weekend, two of the boys, I hope they've settled their nerves. First time in league racing. So yeah, eager to see the guys showing their pace.
Got a few guys out on track already. Connor Young out in the McLaren. Gonna have to just get me up to speed with some of these names. Who are the favorites for the weekend? Who are quicker? I'm not familiar with everybody here. Got a few familiar names that I know, but a lot that I've never raced with.
Jono, if I can bring you into the picture, last weekend we got our perennial podium finisher, Connor Young. He finally put it all together, got his first win. He's in season one has always been threatening for a win, but just somehow conjured up something, got himself out of contention, had to fight back. But yeah, so he's obviously now full of confidence. Our previous season's winner, Jackie. And then obviously one of the more solid finishers, Ronald Leroux. I think he's got 2 out of 3 podiums already. That's probably the oaks to look out for, and Luxter always there if he puts it all together. That's probably your top 4, and then Staffy can also slip in whenever he wants to, if he can finish this race.
Staffy is also
really quite close. I mean, Cowboy as well, Wolf. When they do keep it on the track, they always there in the top 5.
So haven't seen any lap times as of yet. Waiting for the first cars to come over the line. Obviously now in Q1 we've started with 16 runners. So means we'll probably just lose 1 runner at the end of this session.
Yeah, for some reason, Codemasters decides now on a Tuesday to push out big updates, and last week in same story, a couple of folks are still basically downloading the last bits of this big livery update. There you go, the judge just missed it, so he's going to be a spectator until the race, but
he'll be starting from the back then, starting in 17th. Hopefully another 1 or 2 guys can still creep in before the race begins.
Yes. We've still got a Flash also making his debut. We're gonna have to start from the back. He's also still downloading.
Sometimes now we've got Morris going over the line first, 1:35.3, and then Staffy immediately improving 1:33.4. So first lap times. What's your personal take on this track? You enjoy China?
I enjoy China, but I'm not too fast in China. It's one of those weird ones for me where I really enjoy it, but I just don't know where I'm losing time on it. I would guess it's that first long winding right-hander. But yeah, it's quite an enjoyable, action-packed track. It's a favorite of mine, but not very fast.
It's got a few points on this track that can catch me out. You'd be surprised how many laps I've done of this place, and there's places that catch me out. The first corner, the extreme braking point after the straight. I've run wide into that one too many times. It can be quite frustrating when you know it's coming and then you do it anyway.
Yeah, I used to on that first winding corner to the right always tap the brakes on the 50 marker, and eventually watching too many limitless videos, actually saw he's not even touching his brakes and just basically using the gear down and engine braking to pull it around that corner. So a tricky one, but if you get it right, I think that's the place where you make up most of your time.
Good showing so far for the racing points, 4th and 5th. I think they'll be pretty happy with that. Merck up in 3rd, Angry Wolf. And there's a driver I'm not familiar with in 2nd place. Who is that?
Malpa is one of our international drivers from the Netherlands.
From the Netherlands.
We've actually got two GZs here participating. Himself and then right at the bottom Mr. Valandel, also known as Core.
Valandel. Yes, so we have 2 drivers from Holland with us.
That's correct. Well, if it's Holland or Netherlands, somewhere, my memory does me correct. Holland is more a province.
I'm not sure. It's a country with 2 names.
Yeah. We used to think it's the same thing, but apparently it's a territory within. But anyways, yeah, we used to have another driver from the UK, which we're missing. Noah Ryder, he's still got some personal issues, but hopefully season 3 he'll be back.
Right now with Connor Young still looking for his first lap time. Obviously you need to set a lap time. There are 16 runners, 15 will go through, so somebody's going to drop out.
Yeah, looks like Savage Moses, that 143 is not going to be enough, and I'm taking a wild guess and thinking he crashed out. He wouldn't retire on that lap time.
Don't think he would have voluntarily retired on the 143.2. So it must have been a crash that we didn't see. 3 drivers out on track looking for their first lap time, but obviously Connor Young, the Renault, so that's Sniffleizer, I believe, and then obviously Vino also out on track looking to get that banker lap. Then going into Q2, obviously qualifying gets a little bit more interesting. Then tire choice comes into it. You need to start thinking along the lines of what are your plans for the start of the race and how deep into the race you want to go. So Q2, already a little bit of race strategy in there, and obviously lose another 5 drivers. Connor Young has in the meantime set the lap time. He set a 132.7, so that puts him 3rd. Nice for the McLaren so far, 2nd and 3rd. And the racing points in 5th and 6th. Sniffleizer now getting his first lap. It's a 1 minute 34.9, so just creeping into the 134s. That'll be good enough for 11th.
Yes.
Now we just need Dunkster still in the pits. Has not recorded a lap time as of yet. If he doesn't record a lap time, then obviously
I've seen they go through. If someone has crashed out, he'll go through by default.
Okay. And then obviously Valandel out on circuit. Needs to set that banker lap to send him through to Q2. See Savage having retired, you just need to get a lap in, doesn't really matter what that lap is. There we go, 11th place for Valandel, 134.6. Something tells me he hasn't put it all out there just yet. Dunkster now,
yeah,
coming out of the pits.
The drivers are just using this as last minute practice.
Tell me your rules are the on the Park for May. Is it off or on?
It should be on.
Okay. So all
Basically, after
all setups and
I
that
think it was.
people need to decide what they're bringing to the circuit.
That's it.
No more
That's it.
fine tuning once you get here.
Look, 2 updates ago they supposedly fixed that setup issue. So yeah, after that we've put Park for May back on.
If you do a few laps of the circuit before the race, you should have a good idea of what you're comfortable with. But I did a few laps of this track earlier, and it's actually a lot of different setups you can go with. Just over 6.5 minutes remain in Q1. Not too much to play for at this point. Everyone will go through. Waiting now on the only man not to have set a lap time, Dunkster. He's on an out lap. So Jacques is obviously happy with that time of 1:32.3. He's retired from the session. So has both Racing Points. I'm trying very hard to remember those names every time I say Racing Point. I really want to say something else and then I'm like, no, it's not that one. It's something with the point, and then for some reason I think of the credit card machine, the speed point, and I'm like, no, don't call it speed point, Racing Point.
Even at some stages started saying Sport Pesa, but that just also doesn't sit like a
Racing Point. Just doesn't roll off the tongue yet. It's gonna take a while to get used to that. I suppose if it looked different from a Force India, but it's last year's Force India, it's the pink car, so
yeah, it's like trying to start calling a Ferrari something else, but it looks exactly like a Ferrari.
if they changed the name and it looked like a completely different car, probably wouldn't be an issue. At least it's not called Stroll Point.
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Dumpster now will go over the line. Goes third, 1:32.6. Don't think he got that final corner as perfectly as he would have wanted to, so definitely still another 3 or 4 tenths in that lap, just on what I saw around the last corner. He retires from the session. So happy with that. And he split the McLarens. Let's have a look if there's anyone out on circuit trying to improve. Vino out on a lap. I think he's starting a fast lap. Currently in 8th.
Yeah. Maybe just trying to get the flow of the track into the muscle memory. You also stand a chance of wrecking your car, and yeah, so it's a double-edged sword. Some folks play it safe and just don't go out too hard. But
Well,
I always like to get into the flow, get into the feeling.
The safe route would be set a lap time, sit in the pits. You're going through to Q2. That's if you don't want to have an accident and miss the rest of qualifying. But even if at this point you don't have to go for the fastest lap, you could just really use this time as a little bit of extra time on track. You don't have to be pushing to the limit. Just try and iron out the creases. There always seems to be 1 or 2 corners I'm not quite ready for when I start my races. So I actually use all the time I can get in qualifying. Interesting to see actually Hammer down in 12th, set of 134.6, but that was on a set of mediums. Not quite sure why he's using the mediums in Q1. Maybe just wants to have that. Maybe just have an extra set of softs for Q3. I'm not sure. But
that's quite a different tactic there.
Yeah, going for mediums in Q1. It just really means you're going to have a slower lap time, and it's not going to impact your race strategy in any way. You've just thrown away a set of yellows.
Yeah, at 40,000 a tire, that's not something to sneeze at. It looks like they got a big budget.
Yeah, no, I also heard something similar to that. An estimated price of 40,000 Rand a tire. They're only good for a few Ks, and yeah. But the average Formula 1 Grand Prix is about 300 kilometers, so if you make one pit stop in the middle of the race, you're talking about, 150 Ks on a set of tires? And that's it. That's what 160,000 Rand worth of tires is going to do for you.
Oh, so that's $1,000 per kilometer. That's not a nice going rate there.
I'm already doing crazy sums in my head. I'd have to change my tires 4 times on the way down to Durban. It could get pricey. The Renault still out on track, currently in 14th. Like I say, no need to improve right now, just 20 seconds remaining on the clock. We're going for it. Just funny that he went out on the set of mediums. The only reason I can think of is to have that extra set of softs for Q3 or Q2. But if you do qualify for Q3, you do immediately get an extra set. So everybody has finished their session. The only man out on track is the Renault number 29, Smith Eliza. He's going to go over the line now. Let's see if he can improve his time. I'll let you know in just a second. He has not.
The man from Cape Town.
Stays 14th, is it? And that's Q1 for you. So let's just have a run down the order. Jacques getting that 132.3 and retiring. He was happy with that. Then we got, was that Malpai in second, Dunkster in third, Connor Young fourth, Alex Wolf in fifth, Ronald sixth, Staffy seventh, Vino eighth, Cowboy and Morris ninth and 10th. And then is that Avilach in 11th, Doomhammer 12th, Verlandel 14, and Thomas 15.
Yeah,
Savage just set the 143.2 and retired, so I actually think that was a warm-up lap and a crash, and never got around to setting the fast lap.
He's much faster than that.
So he's going to have to miss out on Q2. Won't be starting quite from the back. I know Judge crept into the session slightly late, so Judge will be starting from the back as he doesn't have a time. So Q2 has begun. Watching the pit lane. No action just yet. And as I say that, someone's running out of the pits. Few cars. Got a Renault out. Straight out on track. We've got a McLaren pop. That I believe they fixed that in 2 patches ago. Apparently not. Cars jumping in front of you in the pit lane. Were you having to stop stationary in the pit lane for others to come out? Very strange.
Yeah, they said in this 107 patch they adjusted it, so they fine-tuned it. But still some work to do there. But that was more to do when you actually had a pit and there was a lot of cars releasing, and you could end up hanging and waiting for everyone to pass before you get your chance back out.
The first game we're playing with since tonight's update, which is apparently the visual upgrade. So a lot of the cars sporting little changes in their sponsors that might not be evident immediately, but apparently Ferrari is one of the big ones. That should be an easy one to spot, but they're both in the pits. When one of those Ferraris comes out, we'll have a look.
Yeah, what's that? The 90 year?
Yeah, they obviously had a controversial sponsor at the beginning of the season, which eventually wasn't allowed in the Codemasters game. So car looked quite blank, and now they've added the 90-year logo that they've got in the actual F1 when that sponsor's not allowed to appear in certain countries.
Crazy.
Same thing happening in MotoGP, because Ducati's got that very same sponsor, and every second race you get to, the bikes are blank. So it's quite annoying. But it's actually history repeating itself. I remember something quite similar in the 90s. Cars getting to different tracks with very different looking liveries. Got Connor Young out on circuit, Angry Wolf also out on circuit. A lot of cars out on circuit. We've got about 2, 3, 4, 6 of them out on their fast lap, and then another 6 on out laps. 3 cars still sitting in the pits, obviously just waiting for the track to maybe calm down a little bit, have a little bit of space, looking for the right bubble. You don't want to really get too close to someone else on your qualifying lap. Probably only get 2 or 3 runs at it. Say 3's pushing it a little bit, but could probably get 3 runs. We ride on board with Connor Young. No lap times to speak of. He's in sector 3. He's on a set of softs, so he's obviously looking to go quick. Got a few guys out on mediums as well. It's actually quite an even spread. Got 6 cars on softs, the rest on mediums.
Interesting.
Connor Young 132.4 goes fastest for now. Verlandel second with a 134.5. Then Staffy third, 134.7. The times are coming through. Morris fourth, 136.4. And I'm not sure who's just joined there. So there is your top 5.
The Judgy left the session again. I think he's gone for a quick beer or something. He's still a spectator.
So for now, Connor Young still fastest in the session, a 132.4. Vinner for real setting a 148.3. I don't think that's quite right. There was obviously a lap with a big mistake in it somewhere. So your top 8 have set lap times. Let's look at who hasn't. Thomas now going over the line in the Alfa Romeo. He sets a 137.6. That'll put him 8th. Obviously now in Q2 you wanna remain in that top 10, and if you're 7, 8 or 9, yeah, well, we just watched Thomas go off the circuit now. He's gonna have to find the reverse gear pretty quickly, get that back to the pit so he can have a second run. Just he's not gonna want to damage the car any further. He's lost a lot of wing, and it's not gonna be a fun lap. I don't envy him. Did that right at the beginning of the lap. Let's ride on board just for a moment with Jacques, currently in third on a 133.4, just so we can have a look at that livery. And there we go. Does look a lot better. Not so empty.
Yeah, Dookster, Snuffleiser and Cowboy. All three still need to get the lap time up. Vino's not, that 148.
Yeah,
He's not gonna...
13, 14, 15, still all in the pits.
Just as I say that, he puts a 144 down. That's 9th position for him. Still very close. Won't feel too comfortable with that 34.
Yeah, that midfield is awfully close. I mean, if you look at those lap times from 10th down to 6th, you're really looking at 3/10 of a second. So even if you're in 6th, you're not safe at all. So guys are going to have to go out on a second run if they just want to really confirm their Q3 status. And still no activity from Dunkster, Snuffleiser and Cowboy 33. Still sitting in the pits. Dunkster and Snuffleiser have the softs. They have the softs fitted, and Cowboy, still in the pits, has a set of mediums. But I reckon leaving it a bit late, and I wouldn't want to give it one run in Q2. So got to remember that it's not really advisable to... Something I've learned in racing is I'm usually quicker on my second fast lap, and I've learned the hard way that that's actually bad for my race if I'm also thinking of starting on the softest tire, because usually by the time the race starts my tires are 5 or 6 laps old. So whatever tire you set your fastest lap on, you want to come into the pits and take care of that tire. That tire is going to be what determines how far you go into the race. Started a race recently quite nicely up the grid in 6th and couldn't really get past lap 7, so that was pretty useless. So now 2 of those 3 drivers are out. Dunkster still in the pits, no activity there. Snuffleiser out on track for the Renault. He's out on an out lap, goes over the line now to start his first quick lap. He's on a set of softs. And then obviously Cowboy in sector 3 of his out lap. So we should see their times coming up on screen in about a minute and a half from now, if everything goes well.
Hey, I always believe in first get that banker lap time in, and your second try you can go all out. But there's one shot that has to work sort of a approach. Never worked for me.
It has to work. You know, if it doesn't work, it means you're going to start outside of the top 10, and you're not going to see Q3. You're done. So I suppose it's going to give you... I'd rather start 11th than 10th. At least I can choose my tyre. But I wouldn't leave it down to one run. I don't have that much confidence in my own driving, so I'll always give it two or 3 runs. Most of the time as many as I can. Right now with Snuffleiser number 29, the Renault is coming through now. It's a heavy braking point. You don't want to run wide there, you can lose so much time. Going now into the final, he's left that. He's going into the pits. Has not set a lap. So I'm not quite sure what's... that's the problem with leaving it late, is you go out, you feel something you don't like, you've got to come back in, you've got to change something, and now all of a sudden you're going to be that guy on the party chat that's screaming at his mechanics, hurry up already, plug in the tires. So
you're frantically going through all your settings and missing something maybe, and putting wrong tires, rushing back out, and it's just a stuff up.
You obviously want to take as much time as is given to you. Cowboy, he is out on track. See, Staffy has retired from the session, but he's in 6th. He's set a 1:33.8, and I'd say he's fairly safe. But between 7th and 10th, that is still a danger zone. And it's obviously the zone Cowboy now wants to enter. Currently 11th on a 1:35.0. Wouldn't have to improve by a lot. If he could find a 10th, that would put him in the top 10. Dunkster is on an out lap again. So obviously went out, something didn't feel right, came in, changed it, and now he's out there with 3.5 minutes remaining, not having set a lap time. Well, there is Dunkster. He's now starting sector 1 of what will be his first quick lap. Hopefully no pulling into the pits at the end of this one. And then Sniffleizer, still in 15th, has not set a lap time. Watching the pit lane, have some mechanics coming out, but it doesn't appear to be the Renault mechanics, so nothing happening at Renault for the time being. Got Malpai currently in 5th, doing a good job, 1:33.5, nothing wrong with that lap, but he's out there again. He set that lap time. Let's just have a look. His best lap was on a set of mediums, and he's still out there on that set of mediums, and that's what I'm talking about. You still want to start on the medium, so you do your second run on the medium again, thinking, you know, it's the medium, it can handle it, and I don't want to use my softs, because if I improve, I'm going to have to start on my softs. But then what happens is you'll end up doing 5 or 6 laps on those tyres before the race has begun, and it's not always an advantage. Let's have a look. Dunkster in sector 3. Goes around the final bend. Down the pit straight. Let's see, what can he do? He goes second, 1:38. Nothing wrong with that. And it's on a set of mediums. So, say, judging by that,
yeah,
he's got the upper hand.
He has had a few race wins last season. Finished, I think, with his teammate that's missing, Mackett. They finished top dogs in the Haas outfit last season. So Dunkster, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that lap time at all. 1:32.8, just 4/10 off the pace of pole position from Connor Young. So I think when he throws on a set of softs, he's going to go faster. So I think he's in a comfortable position going into this race. He looks like a favourite for pole in Q3, and he's going to be able to start on the mediums, as is Angry Wolf in 3rd. So not a unique strategy, but I think I'd rather be on the mediums at the start of the race.
Yeah, these softs tend to go off quite quickly on this track.
I just prefer that tyre that can take me further, rather than having that tyre that's going to give me, you know, aggression and punch for like 5 or 6 laps and then just start falling off. And
yeah, and as you speak, I see raindrops.
See, I haven't had any communication with any of the drivers within the lobby, so they're the only ones that can see the weather report. It's something Codemasters could really add to the spectator part of the game. Is a weather report, so that the commentators knew what was going on. Well, that's the end of Q2. Not everybody managed to set a lap time. Sniffleizer did not set that lap time at the end of the day. He did go out. I did see him on track, but obviously didn't record a lap time. Must have just gone straight back into the pits, because I did see the number 29 Renault out on track. Let's have a look. Morris still out on circuit in the Williams. Currently 13th. He's going to have to find some serious time if he's going to go. He's going to have to find a second if he's going to break the top 10. Currently got a 1:35.4. It's going to need to be a 1 34.6. So not quite a second, 8/10. He's gonna have to find a handful here.
Yeah.
And also out on a set of mediums.
Seeing Reno not making the top 10.
I know, and he's gone off circuit, and now obviously this rain is now
It's not helping his cause at all.
these softs are not the tire to be on. I don't think intermediates would be the tire to be on. I think it's actually just that terrible phase that we all know. It's no real tire to be on. And this is why you don't leave things to the end of the session, because if rain comes, it's all over. And surely the guys were, unless it was a famous Jeff weather report, I'm sure the guys were aware that the rain was coming. Maybe they expected it to come in Q3 and not at the end of Q2. So probably just caught a few guys out there.
Yeah, look, from years looking at that that weather, you start to know, 3 drops is wets, 2s is a imper, and a 1 is just stuff around, sort of. That's their code for what's gonna happen. But obviously not all these drivers have been driving leaks before, so some of them do still get caught out.
That is the end of Q2. Let's just go through your top 10. Connor Young managed to take first place, followed by Dunkster, Angry Wolf, that's your top 3, Doom in 4th, Jacques in 5th, Malpai 6th, Staffy 7th, Ronald 8th, Verlandel 9th, and Avilach 10th. And then not making it, some big names in there. Vino Real, he's been eliminated, as is Cowboy, Morris, Thomas, and then Sniffleizer in the Renault. He didn't manage to settle lap time. Circuit is actually very happy hunting grounds for Mercedes-Benz. They have the most victories at this circuit, totaling 9, which is quite insane. I mean, Mercedes went unbeaten in China between the years 2010 and 2017.
Yeah, they were actually dominating.
Yeah, they lost in 2018 and they won it again in 2019. So that's... And then obviously your most race victories here in China goes to Lewis Hamilton with 6 victories. So been quite dominant here. Second most victories here is Fernando Alonso on 2. So it's quite a difference. So have a look. First guys out on track. Same story with Q2. It's Connor Young. Wastes no time in getting out there. This is going to be a critical session now. Obviously from the commentary box we have no idea what the weather holds. We don't know if it's going to rain in the race, if it's going to be clear in the race, and frankly we don't even know if it's going to stay like this or get worse as Q3 goes on. So maybe the guys want to get their lap times done now. Don't know if the track could be slightly worse by the end of qualifying.
Yeah, it does look quite gloomy, and I don't think it's gonna get better. It's probably gonna stay like this.
Most of the drivers are out on circuit. Now 8 drivers out on circuit, so the track's quite busy. Just 2 drivers have remained in the pits. That is the benefit of having this system of Q1, Q2 and Q3. By the time you get to Q3, it's a top 10 shootout. So even in the worst case scenario, there can't be that many cars on track. I remember back in the 90s, you used to have qualifying with like 26 cars on circuit at all times, and it was insane. you basically got your allocation was you had 1 hour, and in that 1 hour you could do 12 laps, and that included your warm-up laps and cool-down laps. So it was either 3 runs with two stints, or 4 runs with 1 stint. And lots of times 2 or 3 of your stints got ruined by traffic because there was 24 or 26 cars out on circuit. Yeah. So things have changed.
But still, you have Oaks complaining that there's still this oak and that oak.
Traffic is a difficult thing to manage, and you know, being someone who's sort of now found the midfield in this game, but for a long time I was at the back, and I can tell you from experience, from someone who got lapped a lot, like sometimes passing immediately isn't the right thing to do. Sometimes let the guy keep his line through the corner, and once there's a straight, he'll let you go. But when you start to put pressure on the car you're trying to lap, he's at the back because he's battling, and now you're putting pressure on him. He's probably going to make a mistake, and you're sort of asking for it. So I think the guys should just, you know, I know it's difficult, but especially in the race, just be a little bit more patient, wait for a corner or two, and most of the guys, 9 times out of 10, they will get out of the way. We don't really have that kind of driver that I can think of that would maliciously block you or block the leader of a race. So Staffy does set the benchmark for the time being. It's a 1:48.0. So first lap
he's
times.
Curiously one of those guys. He's consistently sort of always getting the first lap time in. He's like a get in the car and go sort of a...
Angry Wolf now goes second. Well, he went second briefly with a 1:48.8, and Jacques has split. He's gone second now, 1:48.1. Now, we've really got no data to judge these lap times by. I haven't done any wet testing myself. I actually stay off a wet track as much as possible. So, and all the times leading up to now have been in the dry. So, if it's a 1:48.0, is it good? I'm not sure. We're going to have to wait another just over 6.5 minutes to find out. For the time being, first place goes to Doom, 1:47.8. Then Staffy with that 1:48.0, that was his first lap. Shark with a 1:48.1, that's your top 3. Then we've got Angry Wolf in 4th. Obilach 5th. And then that time by Connor Young, I'm not quite sure about that lap time. I think something didn't go well there.
It's like Maupai crashed out. He didn't even set the lap time, so that's P10.
So he'll start.
And DRS has just been enabled, so that's interesting.
Well, if DRS has been enabled, then it means that the track is drying. Now that I look at it, there's actually not a lot of raindrops on track, but is the track ready for dries? So go in and wait until there's about 3 minutes left on the clock, and then just get out there. Shark goes faster, 1:47.5. That is provisional pole with 5.5 minutes remaining, and a mistake by Connor Young. He's gone into the pits. He's gone too quickly. Lost the wing in the process, but luckily those wheels stayed on there. Not quite sure how those things work. I've hit them very hard and they've stayed on the car, and I've hit them oh so gently and they've flown off. So sometimes you just grit your teeth and hope for the best. You're not quite sure what.
We've had our previous season winner, Jackie, last week. He spun around in Australia on the first left or right left-hander, and as he was making a slow donut to get back in line, his tire clipped and wheel off. That was crazy.
like I say, I don't see too many raindrops. I'm just riding on board with Verlandel as he enters the pit lane. Still a little bit of spray coming off there. So I'm not sure. But usually, if DRS is enabled, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe to jump out on the. The problem is when the track looks dry and
first out of the blocks again.
Immediately
on
out.
A set of wet, not wet, soft.
I think you might find now, well, obviously depending on the speed of the drivers, but I think drivers that are very close in speed, you'll probably find the fastest guy is going to be the last guy out on circuit. I think the track's going to improve with like every minute they have. And they've got 3.5 minutes remaining. Jacques comes into the pits. Not sure if we'll see any more activity from him. He's got a 1:47.5. I'm sure he'll come out on a set of softs. Just got Verlandel also in 5th place. He set that lap on intermediates. So everybody's going to have to come out and do it all again. And we could see a complete flip in these timesheets. I'm sure Staffy would be quite happy if things remained like this and he could start in 3rd. And then the rain had to stop.
Look, he's a real contender in that pink milkshake van. He's just also one of those, if he finishes a race, he's normally top 5. And his fellow Racing Point driver Ronald, they the team to watch out for. They basically 9 points behind the Red Bull in the constructors. So
Staffy is out on circuit currently. That 1:48.0. We're going to follow him for the time being because. If he wasn't the first one out of the pits, he was one of the first ones out of the pits. And he'll give us our first indication, really, of...
next up will be Wolf after Steph. The rest is still on the outlap.
I would have actually, in a situation like this, maybe just put in a little bit of extra fuel and just had 2 runs at it.
Do a double run because you're not going to get another chance.
Just do a second fastest lap because... the track's probably going to be even better on that second attempt. So just really get the tyres up to temperature and give it a go on the first lap, and then second lap, give it everything. Have a look now. Staffy is in sector 3. We're waiting for him to come over the line so we can get an indication of how much these lap times will come down. Not quite sure what come out there, but okay.
I suspect a 35-ish sort of.
See now, Staffy goes over the line, activates DRS, 1:35.5, spot on, Ati. That's scary. How right that was, 1:35.5. Nicely done. So that means there's 12 seconds. Difference between an intermediate lap and a dry lap. It's quite extreme.
But like I said, it's also it will still drop the next Oaks as the time start rolling in. I suspect it will go down to 34 something.
Low 1:34. Well, we've got a 1:34.3. As I say that, Angry Wolf, he takes provisional pole. Now it'll be interesting to see how many of these guys are giving it a second go and how many of them are going to back off. I would definitely give it another go with 18 seconds remaining on the clock. Can still get over that line. Let's have a look at Duxter. He gets over the line with just 9 seconds remaining on the clock, so he is going to get a fast lap, but he's going to have one go at it. Ronald now, he's going around, what is that, the hairpin? I don't think he's going to get over the line. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought he was on an out lap. Here comes Ronald's lap. He goes over the line. Currently in 10th. And he goes first. 1:33.1. Nicely done.
33.1.
A 1:33.1. Is anybody going to get a 1:32 to beat that? Dixter's still out on track.
34.1. Staffy on his second lap.
I mentioned a few minutes ago that the guy using this track at the very end might get the very most out of it. And Dixter's in a good position.
Also on board with Jackie. Let's see his attempt at it.
Let's see, where is Shark?
We go for the 3-2.
Shark sets a 133.2.
The racing points again.
Just 1/10 for pole position. Nothing in it. We now follow the Red Bull. See a McLaren there in the background. I hope he didn't get any traffic. He's going through the final stages of the circuit now. He's going to go into that final corner. It's a tricky corner, that. And now he's going to go over the line. And he's going to go third briefly.
Connor Young
went third briefly, and Connor Young 132.2. Well, that's it's quite the gap. Like I said, the guy that uses the truck.
Last week, so he stays in form, puts it on pole.
Thought that guy that if it's the right driver, the driver who's got the speed and can get everything out of the track, I thought that the guy on pole would be the last guy to use the circuit. I actually thought it would be Duxter, but very nicely done. So let's just go through your top 10. Connor Young, he's going to start this race from pole position, set a 132.2, and by virtue dominated qualifying. Ronald in second, Shark third, Duxter fourth, Doom in fifth, Staffy sixth, Angry Wolf seventh, Avilach in eighth, Villandel ninth, and then Malpai not managing to get a lap time. He crashed out on a warm-up lap, and also that lap in ninth place by Villandel, that was set on a set of intermediates, so he never got a run on dries for some reason. So that's that. Qualifying is done. And let the race begin.
I just saw on the WhatsApp group, Jeremy, maybe too early, had a big woohoo 1-2 racing point. And then, yeah.
I know that was actually a very tricky Q3 if you think about it. Started off in the wet, and by the end of it, everyone was going around on dries. And the rain only started in Q2, so that was quite a quick shift. See, Jacques left the session briefly. He's rejoined.
They say the only predictions is cloudy, so it doesn't look like rain for the race.
Okay, and off we go. Or the formation lap. See, now you want to get some heat into your brakes, heat into your tires. Don't want to run into anybody right in the beginning of the formation lap, because you don't retire from the race, but what does happen is you get thrown back to the grid where you're going to sit by yourself, and trust me, if it happens right at the beginning of the lap, it's a really long 2 minutes.
It is a hell of a wait.
It's a really long 2 minutes, and it's really lonely. You've just got the car you hit to look at, so and he's probably just as much impressed with you. Connor Young really stole it there at the end. But it was brilliant lap time. 132. I don't think I've done that in time trial quite yet. So, nicely done. See, another thing to remember is we are in China, and when in China, never forget turn 1. So it's quite a few cars on the grid, and hopefully we don't see anything too crazy in turn 1. Just wait now for everyone to come around. finish this formation lap. See a certain driver in 6th place, he's held position.
Oh, and a bunch of naughty boys waiting here out on the track.
So here we go. Haven't done this in quite some time. Should be fun.
Take us through the start, Jono.
There we go, just waiting now for the red lights to appear. There we go, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and we should be away. There we go. Connor Young gets
Thomas,
a good start.
Penalty jump start.
Didn't see that. Thomas apparently getting a drive-through for a jump start.
Going sideways there in turn 1.
Connor Young has managed to
going wide. Maupai.
Connor Young has managed to clear into the lead. Seems fine. Avilach has done a great job. He's up in 4th place. If I remember correctly, he didn't get a lap time and qualified in 10th. I'm not sure what happened there. A little bit of lag, but cars seem to bump into each other, but I don't see any damage. Everything's fine. And let's go back, have a look. Staffy in that racing point, he's down in 7th. Philandel also in 8th place, having a good race. Did not manage to set a lap time in Q3, so he needs to now make up some positions. Would have liked to have started higher up the grid. Vino up to 9th, started outside the top 10, so be happy with that. Philandel has made a pass on Avilach. And Avilach now drops down the order. He was in 7th just 2 or 3 corners ago, now in 10th. See these cars going, almost 4 wide now. And I thought the 2 Renaults were going to collide, but damage was avoided. And there we go, obviously Connor Young will set purple because that's lap 1 and he is in the lead. So at the end of lap 1, your top 3, Connor Young, Duxter and Ronald. At this point, Connor Young has already opened that gap up to 1.5 seconds. Avilach now running wide. He's going to lose another position to Doom. We have a Red Bull off circuit. It's
sector 1.
It's Philandel. Philandel is off circuit. He obviously misjudged turn 1, found himself on the grass, and very early on in the race to make a mistake. If you made that same mistake towards the end of the race when you had space all around you, might not even have cost you a position, but on lap 2 it's going to throw you all the way back to the back of the field. He actually finds himself with all the Ferrari powered cars for some reason.
Yeah, speaking of the Ferraris, seems like Savage and Jockey lost connection, just never could reconnect in time, so unfortunately they out in the pits, out of the race. Very bad luck. And I just was on board now. There seems to have been contact. Vino losing some wings in the process. Slight touches. Guys still battling for track position.
5 seconds. 5-second penalty.
5 seconds. Yeah.
Corner cutting. Duxter goes fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:37.0.
This early in the race to get a 5-second. DRS enabled.
That's it, lap 3, DRS has been enabled, which obviously means if you're within a second of the car in front, when you enter the DRS zone, you can use that little boost. And if you've got someone behind you, you just want to break that second. You don't want them in that second.
He's broken that gap down to 0.4.
Let's have a look at the McLaren, make sure there's no damage. There's no visible damage. I don't know, he's just lost that gap all by himself. It was up to 1.5 seconds almost, and now just 0.4 of a second, so could have a battle for the lead.
And he is in that DRS zone, as you mentioned.
Could have a battle for the lead coming up. Let's keep our eyes on this battle, just 0.3 of a second in it. Another thing that could be interesting is what tyres are there on? Yeah, there we go. Connor Young, he's on a set of softs. Duxter behind him is on a set of mediums. So
cuts on the inside.
He's going to get around the outside. That's a really nice pass. Nicely done. And he's taken the lead of this race, and he looks really quick, and he's on a set of mediums.
Yeah, no, Connor is not going to take it just lying down. He's putting it on the inside, making it stick.
Such a difficult sequence there in turn one. You've got that long right-hander, and then you think you've got it because you're on the inside, but it just means the other guy's going to be on the inside for the left-hander that's going to jump out at you.
I always tend to get caught out on the acceleration after the next left hand.
It's almost like I have that long right-hander, and for some reason that short left almost always, it like rushes me. I don't know. It feels like it hurries up on me. I still struggle with that corner, and if you mess up turn one, it's your lap time. So now that gap has extended to 1.1 seconds, crucially, so that lead gap has broken the DRS range, and it's gone slightly higher than that, 1.5 seconds now. So he's actually reversed. He's reversed the lap. He's reversed the lap that was
1.8. He could also be running high ERAs, rich mix, trying to break it early.
Let's have a look now, Connor Young. He's running wide in the hairpin, and it's going to allow the Racing Point to go side by side. He's got the inside line into the final corner and manages to hold on to that position for now. But seems like he's losing a bit of momentum, and Ronald's on the charge. Angry Wolf not far behind, 3/10.
Angry Wolf just waiting for a little mistake. He's 0.2 behind.
So now the problem for Ronald is if he's faster than Connor Young, he's going to want to attack Connor Young, but at the same time he's got to keep his eyes on his mirrors, and it's difficult to do one of those two.
So easy to make a mistake if you're more in your mirrors than what's happening in front of you.
And even for the guy at the front of this, for Connor Young, he knows he makes a big enough mistake. If he runs wide enough, he could give up 2 positions in a corner. So lots of pressure here for second place. It's like those gaps have just opened up a little bit. Nothing really too close out on circuit now, looking at the gaps. The closest battles we have are for second and third. Connor Young, Ronald and Wolf, all very close. Unfortunately, there's a problem there with the game that I thought was fixed many patches ago, but seems that the red counter sounds even worse than it did when the game started. It used to just stay on one. Oh no, Connor Young comes into the pits.
I think he's had enough of those shots.
As he comes into the pits, he clips his wing on the wall there, and so now he's going to have to get a front wing change. That's going to cost him even more time in the pits. And
let's see if he manages to select it before he crosses that pit line.
I see they have put on a new wing for him, and off he goes. But where will he rejoin the racetrack? It's currently in 10th place. We're waiting for Noob to come over the line. He has just managed to get over the line, so Connor Young rejoins the race in 11th, and seems like starting on the softs. was not the good strategy. Only 2 cars left out on circuit with the soft, and as I say that, one of them pits.
They've already pitted now, so that's it for the softs.
No more soft runners, so that was lap 6. And yeah, that's what I just said earlier. I would have really preferred to have the medium tyre that can take you to lap 15 rather than have a tyre that's going to be incredibly quick for about 4 or 5 laps, and for Connor it doesn't even look like it was incredibly quick for 4 or 5 laps, because he was already starting to lose lap times after lap 3.
The problem I have with it as well is especially if you sort of a mid-table, it doesn't even help you got a faster tyre, because you're so much ducking and diving and dodging in the first 2-3 laps, you can't really fully maximize your advantage on the tyre.
Sometimes the tyre choices, you know, it's really more for the guys at the top that are looking for every single tenth, and they're able to extract that out of the tyre. And for guys like you and me who are in the midfield, sometimes losing that 2 or 3 tenths by going on a harder tyre really doesn't make a difference to me, because I wasn't going to get those 2 or 3 tenths out of that tyre. I'm not that top driver that can extract that sort of stuff. So I'd rather just go out on the safer tyre and then obviously stay out longer. The problem with that strategy is if you break a wing on lap 1, and ask me how many times that's happened.
Yeah, well, if you haven't broken a wing on lap 1, then you haven't driven a F1 car.
And then you definitely haven't driven an F1 car online if you haven't broken a wing on lap 1. You know, I've had 5 pit stops by lap 6.
2 Ferrari drivers has left the session, unfortunately for them. Basically happened that they lost their connections just in that transition between the Q3 and the formation lap, and I've seen if you lose it there, the game doesn't sort of pick you up from there. Yeah.
So
you cannot just reconnect like mid-race.
It's literally just the wrong place. Even if you get disconnected on the formation lap, you come back. So no Ferrari points in this race.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt them bad. They were lying pretty in 3rd position on the constructors.
It's actually left Duxter up front in the Red Bull. He's now 4.5 seconds off the road from his nearest competitor, Ronald. It's left him sitting quite nicely, actually. Ronald 2nd. Angry Wolf still going around quite nicely in 3rd place. Seems to have
second yellow flag.
I'm not quite sure. Let's have a look. I think that was the McLaren of Malpai. He went off circuit. Just saw him rejoining. And
he's heading to the pits, and he's missing his entry. Almost
goes into the pits and does what his teammate did a lap ago.
And he also rushes into the pits. 5-second penalty, speeding in the pit lane. That's now when panic stations hits in.
We all know the feeling, and it feels like when you make 2 mistakes, then the 3rd one is.
And then your pit crew takes too long, and they don't change the right tyre, and it's a stuffer.
So he hasn't had the best of luck. That means he's now in 17th. He was up to 5th at a stage, so was having quite a heck of a race, starting in 10th, going up to 5th, and now down in 17th. Same for the man just up the road from him, Villandel, in the 2nd Red Bull. He's in 16th. Him and Malpai both, as well as Avila and Connor Young. Those 4 drivers are on a set of hards. What sort of tyre duration on these hards? Do you think they're looking to finish?
For sure. Yeah, no, look, I think they need to take it to the end now, so I'm quite sure they'll make it. They'll have to stretch it past 50, but we'll get there.
So we have those 4 cars out on track. They are obviously now not going to have any more planned pit stops, and hopefully they can just keep their noses clean and bring those cars home.
Yeah, looking at the pits done already, Maupai has done his second pit stop, so he's really having a big struggle here in China.
Connor Young, not
Orlando,
far behind Morris.
Connor.
Connor Young, not far behind Morris. Got a battle on our hands for 8th place.
Yeah, he's gonna try and make his way now through this sort of lower midfield.
There we go, sweeps up the inside. That was actually a very good looking pass. Just swept up the inside, nicely done. And I don't think Morris put up too much of a fight. You know, sometimes if you see a name that you know is clearly faster than you in your mirrors, sometimes it's in your best interest to just move. Because, sure, you could have a lot of fun and defend from him and frustrate him for maybe even 2 or 3 laps, but you're just really holding yourself up and bringing the next guy in the queue closer. So if you think in the long run he's going to beat you, let him go.
And, as we speak, Vino has quietly made himself his position up to 7th.
He's in 7th place.
Minding his own business.
Sometimes those are the best races you can have. You know, you just find yourself in this bubble of space, and he's literally in a bubble of space. The car ahead of him is 9.3 seconds ahead, and the car behind him is 9.3 seconds ahead. So behind. So he's really. You can just go about your own business, and if you make a little error here and there, you'll see it in your times. But you don't have any cars filling up your mirrors.
2 drivers that's made up huge positions. Cowboy jumped 8 positions so far. Sniffle has 9 positions. Really seem looking like they're gonna cash in big if they keep it together for 18 more laps.
Should just keep our eyes on Connor Young. He's currently in 8th, and I don't think his race is quite done just yet. If you remember just a few moments ago, I said Vino was in a bubble, and the gap ahead was 9.3 and the gap behind was 9.3. That is no longer the case. Connor Young has closed that gap already to 7.8 seconds. So he's taking a bite out of Vino, and he's finding his momentum. Just got to get a feel for those hards now. Probably not the ideal tyre to be on, but after a few laps, he's done 4 now.
They just take a while to heat up. 3 to 4 laps, then they really start speaking.
Make that 5. He's done 5 laps now, so I think those tyres are in the operating temperature that they want to be in, and that gap is now down to 7.6 seconds. Vino also making up ground. Vino also making up ground.
From Cowboy. So lining up next DRS zone, I think will be the first that he will be able to employ. That the DRS on the back wing. Let's see. He can get a nice exit. It's not quite close enough, 0.8 still, but maybe in the wearing him down section now.
0.7 now. This is a long straight. Now he's going to open up DRS. He's going to close that gap. Connor Young pushing too hard. He's retired from the session. There we go. His car's off the circuit. Let's just ride with Devon so we can.
Connor.
There we go. Connor off the circuit. Wheel off the car. That was a big impact. And he was obviously pushing on a set of hards, trying to get back into this race, and maybe just climbing a curb somewhere along the line, and that's all it takes. Is something small. That should release the pressure now on Vino. It's going to release the pressure on Vino. Morris now 18 seconds behind him, so that 7th place is pretty safe. He is making up a lot of ground on Sniffleizer. 3.3 seconds now, so 3/10 as he went through that corner. He's catching the Renault and could have a battle for 6th. Staffy just gap of 1.03 seconds, so just outside that DRS.
He made a mistake not keeping in mind employed the DRS, which meant a much faster top end. But then he forgot you then need to brake earlier on the next corner because you got that 10-15 k's extra top end, and he overshot it big time.
Nothing funny to talk about in terms of tires. Your entire top 10, your entire top 12, all on mediums. So, and they've all done pretty much the same amount of laps on them. Well, the freshest mediums would be Doom, but he's down in 10th.
And Steffi goes into the pits.
Comes into the pits on lap 13.
And in front of him, Ronald. So 3, 4, 5 all in the pits. All slapping on.
Wolf comes out, Ronald comes out.
White wall tire.
All going on to the hards. See now, Vino up to 5th place.
Ronald having some difficulty on this turn 1 with these cold white tires. Not very grippy when they get out.
Especially for that turn 1 in China, it's not the best corner. It's a really wide corner, and if you get offline, those tires don't appreciate it. So your top 5, you've got Dux the Cowboy, Sniffleizer in 3rd, Ronald 4th, and Vino in 5th. This lineup has changed many times. You see Connor Young was actually looking quite fast and quite racy. Exceeded track limits, 5-second penalty for Duxter, that's your leader. So let's keep that in mind. And then maybe with 2 or 3 laps to go, we can just have a look at the race director's report and just for the top 3 drivers, make sure there's
penalties. Speeding in the pit lane. Sorry to interrupt.
So he gets another 5-second penalty. So that's 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, 5 seconds for corner cutting. That's 10. It's got a gap of 13 seconds, and doesn't look that big anymore, does it?
Huge. He just now needs another normal 3-second penalty, and that's it.
Duxter now comes out of the pits, and he's gonna have traffic in front of him. Oof. Comes out of the pits behind an Alpha that gets in the way a little bit, and actually allows Ronald to go through into the lead of the race. And well, I think this is your final phase out there. I don't think too much is going to change here in this top 7. They're all on hards, and
Dino has also just put it with Moras. That's just leaving Devon and Judgy still to pit. So
your top 7, basically they've all pit, and they all have the same objective: keep the nose clean. You don't want to go into the pits again, and bring it home from here.
There you go. Moras also in the pit. Only Devon still out on track.
Morris comes out of the pits now on a set of hards.
Duxter now right on the back of Ronald, 0.5 seconds coming out of this last curve towards the DRS. He's in pouncing range here to make his move. Let's get on board. He's gonna put it on the inside.
Either go for it already.
Yeah, he's going all out for it.
Going for it. It's run a little bit wide. It's allowed the Racing Point to have another go at it. Now who's going to get DRS down this straight? It is the Racing Point. Ronald gets DRS. It's all about turn 1. Going to get as close as you possibly can. He's not close enough on this occasion. Have a look further back. 8th and 9th also battle for 8th. Devon, he's defending from Doom. Connor Young has now left the session.
Lamar also sits with a 5-second penalty, so quite a few 5 seconds being handed out. Maupai 5 second, Duxter.
Not sure of Ronald's penalty situation, but we know Duxter's penalty situation. Dux's
Nothing
penalty
at all,
situation
so-
is not a good one. So as things stand, let's just have a look. Gap from the leader. If things were to
0.8.
end right now, he would finish. Duxter would finish 4th.
That's correct.
So he's gonna want to open up that advantage. If he's gonna stay within the sights of Ronald, then he's going to lose this race.
You'll have to drive the wheels off that car to try and stretch this lead to 10 seconds. I'm not sure.
He's gonna find 10 seconds in the matter of 7 laps. I think it's a bit of a stretch. Just silly mistakes.
Yeah,
The speeding in the
by
pit
way
lane
that goes-
is never an easy one to take. That one's always quite frustrating for me.
Yeah, and as we speak, he sets on the fastest lap. So yeah, he's putting it down and trying his best. But we've seen with Connor Young that can also result in a DNF. So
Someone I haven't mentioned too much. He's doing a fantastic job. He's up in 5th. So Racing Point having a good day. 2nd and 5th. Staffy holding his own. And Sniffelaza down in 6th, almost 14 seconds behind him. So looking good for a top 5. Just needs to bring it home. But we know that this last stretch of the race can be... Doesn't really matter if it's 50% or 100%. It always seems like that last stretch, that last 10 laps, that's when a silly error can creep in, and just got to keep the concentration now and bring it to the end.
yeah, it's when your mind starts dwindling and working on some other what-if scenarios, and you end up missing a breaking point.
Wonder if Ronald in 2nd place is aware of those penalties. They do pop up on screen, so I'm sure he is aware of them. If he's aware of Duxter's penalties, then I'd say he'd be racing him. You know, he's racing him in a very different way. Like, he knows, keep him in your sights, you'll win the race. There's no real point in battling him, and you know, you both have to make a pit stop and give up the win.
Defend that first lunge on the right hand told me that he wasn't gonna defend it too hard.
I think he understands the situation. That gap is up to 2.7 seconds, but it would have to go up insanely before the end of this race.
Just dropping down the field, Staffy has made up quite a lot of ground on Cowboy, 1.4.
So he could...
and Devon also within shooting range of Maupai, 0.9.
Could potentially then split those Mercs.
Yeah.
Sniffelaza in the Renault, 6th place. He obviously did not get a lap time done, and said he started from... I'm not sure, he started quite far down. I like his helmet. Very Alonso. Have you seen the helmet of the Renault driver? That's very Alonso. I want to know where he got that. I like that. Anyway, up in front, Duxter still leading the race in inverted brackets by 3.6 seconds. But we know of at least 10 seconds worth of penalties that will be added on to his race time. Didn't see anything else pop up on screen. We may have missed something, but like I say, we know of at least 10, and that is a considerable amount
I've gone
already.
through the race director, and
nothing
only
there.
10 for now, and Ronald doesn't have one, so...
Not a lot of tight battles on track now on lap 18.
Staffy 1.2.
Closest to Staffy.
Behind Cowboy.
Closest to Staffy. He's trying to split those Mercedes-Benz. Get himself up into 4th. just have a look at the gap to the leader. That's right, so if things ended right now, Duxter would finish third. So Cowboy has lost a bit of ground to those top three. Avilak now getting another 3-second penalty.
Yeah.
He's in ninth, still holding on for some potential points.
Yeah, that's 2 points. That's 2 points in his debut race.
And Malpai as well, in 10th at the moment. Also looking at some points for his effort. Nice to see still 16 drivers in this race from the 19 that started. We obviously had bad luck with the 2 Ferraris, and they weren't able to complete their race, and then just the 1 DNF from Connor Young. So some good driving.
Oh,
5-second penalty. Speeding in the pit lane seems like a common occurrence on this circuit.
Yeah.
I was just misjudging that pit lane entry for some reason.
If I'm going out on a limb, but I think the other 5-second corner cutting one was a... Oh, and Bliznoop retired from the session. DNA.
He's retired from the session. There's no one behind him, so I can't follow any car to see if he went off circuit and retired or if it was an accident. But that leaves us with 15 runners. And your leader, the end of lap 19, is still Duxter.
Just put the commentator's curse on Bliznoop.
Commentator's curse. Happens every time.
Now, just to jump the Angry Wolf, 0.4 behind Ronald. There seems to have been a mistake by Ronald. And Wolf is ready to pounce on this DRS zone.
Let's have a look now at Wolf in third place currently. He's got Ronald in front of him. That Racing Point just jumping here and there.
That's out. Yeah.
But he backed out of it. If that connection isn't 100%, then it really doesn't have to be bad. A car can just jitter in front of you once or twice, and it can really...
And you lose all confidence.
It can put you off. You're not quite sure. Do I go up the inside? Is he really where I see him? And then he's now given up that position, and that actually means Wolf could potentially win this race as things stand, with 8 laps to go. So only a 50% race, but feels like so much has happened. I'm actually glad it's not a Friday night race. Don't know how I used to commentate on those things. Imagine in 8 laps time we'd be halfway. Oh no.
Yeah, I take my hat off for you, and especially if you're doing it alone, that's a difficult job. No spotter, no one else to assist.
You've really got to find an individual who likes the sound of his own voice so that he can talk for 3 hours to nobody. So it's also bordering on insanity, but whatever. So lap 20 of 28, Duxter still leads the race, 6.3 seconds, and just a second behind Angry Wolf. You got Ronald. Those are potentially your first and second. Don't want to say anything too much. This game has played tricks on us before, but as far as I understand the penalties, Duxter will be in third, and Angry Wolf will win this race.
Yeah, Ronald now in DRA zone to hang on to Angry Wolf, which seems to have a little bit more pace at this point.
Now, it's also going to be difficult. It's easier said than done. But second and third place here need to work together in order to beat Duxter. Because if at any point in the next 7 laps these two start battling for second, that 6.8 second gap could extend past the 10-second mark. It all of a sudden, cars going side by side and things getting a bit messy and a little bit of grass on tyres, and all of a sudden Duxter could get a second chance at winning this. So I don't think these two, obviously you want the potential win, but I don't think they should engage too much. 6.9 seconds, it's getting pretty touch and go. We said it couldn't happen. He'd have to make a 10-second gap in what was it, 7 laps, and
Well, yeah, it was about 13.
it's there and thereabouts. So it's 7 seconds officially. So
He's basically did 7 seconds in 7 laps and 7 laps to go. So going at this rate, he's
he could win
easily
this.
going to stretch it to 14.
Don't know what he's doing to those tires, but like I say, the problem here with second and third is they are probably, if they get close enough, they are going to battle each other. It's second place, you know. It's not something you just give up. But Duxter now 7.5 almost. So
he's just put on another fastest lap, so he's really flying at this point.
So I think he's very aware of those penalties, and he knows exactly what he needs to do. It's danger territory as well when you're pushing that hard. Saw what happened to Connor Young earlier when he was trying to make his way up the field and have a second go at this race, and he was looking really racy and really quick. But I didn't see the accident, but from the remains that I saw, it seems like he may have just clipped the curb, spun around onto the grass, and had a heavy impact. So Duxter pushing for that 10-second lead. It's a difficult situation when you're pushing. 7.3 seconds, so the gap just coming down slightly, maybe making a bit of a mistake somewhere.
Yeah,
allowing Angry Wolf and Ronald just to stabilize the gap. Maybe his tires could be...
Yeah, he could also put all the extra fuel in and all the ERS and overcook the tires a bit, so yeah, he can come back to haunt you later.
No, he's still got 6 laps to go to find another 2.3 seconds, 2.2 seconds. If he can find another 2.2 seconds, he can still potentially win this race. But if that gap begins to come down, then I think his tires have had it.
Also bear in mind, I'm starting to see him now running into the back markers, and there's quite a bunch of them, so that's also now going to affect him. Does he go for the one move pass and end up being clipped by some back marker trying to get out of the way, or?
Let's have a look. The first back marker he's going to have to deal with now is for Landl. That's his teammate. So I don't think he'll give him too much of a headache. The moment he sees a Red Bull in his mirrors, he will probably dive out of the way.
But he does sort of kill those fastest laps for a while. So,
yeah, definitely. Anything that can just take your attention off. I mean, some of these guys are talking about 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second difference within their gap, and that's all you need is go around the corner, you see a car there for a split second, and you're like, it's enough to take your concentration somewhere else, and you can make a mistake. As I say, that Avilok becomes another DNF. Just ride on board with Judge, see if he drives past the site of that accident, so you can just get an idea for what happened. Yellow flag is in sector 2. Judge is in sector 2.
Like
there it is.
Yeah. Same spot as Connor Young.
Same spot as Connor Young. I'd like to find out from them what actually happened there, but
from the right-hand curb that spits out to the left.
From the little bit of time trial I did earlier on in the afternoon, that's what I think it is. I think they got on the curb, got on the grass, and there's not much you can do from there. So Duxter 7.8 seconds. So it's really going to be touch and go. It's really going to be touch and go. He has crucially extended the gap to third to over 10 seconds. So right now he would finish second. And that was looking a lot worse a few laps ago when I said he would finish fourth. So 7.9. It got up to 7.5 so quickly, but it's just been hovering around this for the past 2 laps, and I think his tyres may be done, or their best work may be done. Say Ronald now 10.5 seconds behind the leader, so he has lost that opportunity of jumping Dixter for the time being. Things can obviously change. Seen Connor Young go out of this race. Seen Havelock go out of this race just from clipping a curb. But now Dixter going purple, setting the fastest lap of the race at this late stage. 3 laps to go. He increases that gap up to 8.7 seconds. And if he can find another 1.3 seconds in the 3 laps that remain, then
yeah. Crucially, Wolf is now also running to Villandel, who's now gonna make this as long as possible before he gives that position over to Wolf to assist his teammate.
it'll be interesting to see, does he hold him back at all? It's funny, sometimes people think you do that, and I mean, I've been in international leagues that I didn't even know who my teammate was, so I just knew the name on the screen.
Yeah, well, there you go. Core just backed out of on the straight as soon as he got the chance. So
gap has tweaked just a little bit, so 8.9 seconds, 8.8 now. So
basically 2 laps to go.
I'm not willing to make any predictions. I'm not willing to make any predictions.
Touch and go. Touch and go.
Gone back down to 8.5, so it seems like Wolf is managing, and if he can just match him for these last 3 laps, he's going to win the race.
Yeah, crucially, he doesn't have any back markers. Can't see anything in this long straight up ahead, so there's no reason.
So Dixter still leads, 8.6 seconds that gap, still hovering. Ronald further back in 3rd place. Still got Cowboy in 4th. I've actually not commented that much on Cowboy throughout the race. He's actually had a quiet race, gone about his business quite efficiently, and it's a great result so far. Staffy as well, not far behind, just 3 seconds down the road from Cowboy. He's in 5th, and just needs to hold it together. Looks like a very safe 5th. The Renault of Sniffer Liza 20 seconds behind, so the top 5 is safe for both Mercs and both Racing Points. So
yeah,
good day for Merc power.
Merc and Racing Point.
Got a Merc in the back of that Racing Point, so that's 4 out of 5.
Here we go.
You just forget that there's actually a Merc in the back of those cars, because if you watch the real stuff on Sundays, you doubt that very much.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, in Formula 1, there's a Merc engine in the back of the fastest and slowest car in the grid.
Crazy.
Makes no sense
and as
whatsoever.
We say, gap is now 9.9, 10.0.
It's just crossed 10. 10.1.
There you go. Looks like Wolf made a mistake somewhere.
And that's all you need is just that little mistake.
Lap again.
9.9. It's gonna be so close. If he goes over the line 9.9 seconds in the lead and comes second, that's heartbreak.
Yeah, but, I presume the corner cut was the second last corner, that very sharp one after the long DRS straight. If you cut that slightly too much, instantly hands you 5 seconds.
It's quite a weird one to get. Usually you get your 2 warnings and then you get a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah.
But I think if the corner cut is severe enough, sometimes you don't even get the warnings and it jumps straight to a 5-second. So that obviously cost him.
A few corners.
But now that gap, I'm just watching that gap, and it was briefly 9.9, and it's 9.9 again. So honestly, we don't know.
I'll be very touch and go.
it's amazing because it's touch and go as to who's going to win this race, literally by a matter of tenths of a second. But there's no battle on screen to commentate on, so
yeah. And as we speak,
9.8.
Steffi has overtaken Cowboy somehow, so Cowboy made a big mistake.
This is a brilliant showing for the Racing Points. Third and fourth now. Cowboy losing that position. It'll be interesting to see if he has a go back at him.
He's already
Lap 28 has started.
Final lap. Perfect time to make a move, Steffi.
Have a look now. Where is Wolf? Wolf is 10.1 seconds behind. What's gonna happen if the gap is 10.1 seconds, then your official leaderboard at the end of the race is gonna say that Dixter won the race by a tenth of a second. So, don't get photo finishes in F1 every day. This is a photo finish with a F1. It's different to a MotoGP photo finish. This is 10.3. Where is Duxter? 10.2. He's now going around the hairpin for the final time. Just wants to keep it clean. Yeah, I think he's done enough. Goes around the final corner, careful not to run wide over the line, and that gap when he went over the line was 10.2.
Let's see if Wolf can close it. 10.241.
He's not going to be able to close it. 10.3, and wow. Okay. I think what happened was he didn't have a 10-second penalty, he had a 5-second penalty. The second one got served in the pit stop. I think the second 5 seconds got served in the pit stop because that gap was not quite what we expected. But that's your top 5 have crossed the line. We now wait for Sniffalizer, number 29, Renault, coming around the hairpin. It's a good result at the end of the day for him to come home in 6th.
And somehow Cowboy has jumped Steffi again. Could be by way of penalty. 3.6 difference.
Guys now just coming over the line, waiting for Doom. Some of the guys have been classified because they were more than a lap behind. So we're just waiting for 2 cars to finish. It's actually Doom and Judge. Judge has finished and Doom will go over the line any second. Last man to take a checkered flag. And there we go. Midweek Racing.
Doom, 4 points in the back.
Round 3, China. It was a good one. I hear the F1 song. Don't copyright my video, please. Stop playing the F1 song. I can hear it. Okay, there we go. So there's your top 3. Very nicely done. And he knew he had to take the lead and open up a serious gap because he had penalties, and he did just that. Good day for Red Bull. Good day for Racing Point.
Yeah.
Good day for Merck.
Yet again on the podium. I think that's now 3 races in a row. Very, very consistent drive there by the Racing Point driver.
Nice to see Adrian Newey up on the podium there. Okay, so there we go. There are your final race results for the Chinese Grand Prix round 3 here at Midweek Racing. Thanks for winning the race at the end of the day by 5.4 seconds. Wolf coming through in 2nd, Ronald in 3rd, Cowboy 4th, Stacky, good drive, 5th place, Sniffalizer 6th, considering the race he had earlier, that's a good result. Vino in 7th, Doom 8th, Malpai 9th, Devon in 10th. And then outside the top 10, not scoring points today, we've got Verlandel, Morris, Thomas, the Judge, and then your retirements.
Yeah, great stuff, Jono. Thanks for the
so there we have it. I hope the guys that usually tune in and watch this Hope you enjoyed it. You didn't miss Nizmax too much, and I'm sure you'll be back next week. It was awesome, and yeah, if you ever need any help again, just let me know. But thanks a lot, and you guys can tune in next week, same time, for round 4. See you then.
Cheers, bye.